3 million years from Earth, the Red Dwarf podcast. Thanks for the memory. Its crew, Blake Braswell, a USA native, and Lee Malaby, his English co-host. Additional, I feel like I'm entering an alternate dimension, where I'm the curmudgeon complaining about Red Dwarf and Lee is as chipper as he can be. Still, I am enjoying the curry made with dog's milk, so life ain't half bad. What's up, Smegheads, and welcome to Series 7 of Thanks for the Memory, a Red Dwarf podcast, where we rewatch every episode of the BBC comedy show Red Dwarf and discuss them. As always, I am Blake, and here with me is my good friend, Lee.
Oh my God, it still makes me laugh that we still keep coming up with these additionals. What also makes me laugh is the fact that we are still coming up with these additionals, where this joke ended like 5 seasons ago. It's hilarious.
And I also like that as we were talking through the preview, because as we said, we record these back to back. We were discussing the previous episode about to do this, and I went, oh my God, my additional is going to hit so well because of the stuff that we were talking about.
So you wrote that before we talked about the last episode?
Yep.
That is amazing. So good. It shows how well we know each other.
I know. And I got my own Holly reference in there as well.
Right. Well, the episode we are talking about, if you don't already know, is Series 7, Episode 4. That is Duct Soup, and the episode originally aired on the February the 7th, 1997. Crichton thinks Lister likes Kochanski better than him and is making a fuss about it when the primary power goes off and they all get stuck in a room. They have no choice but to climb into the ventilation ducts and try to escape. While inside the ducts, they discover Lister is claustrophobic. So, Blake, you mentioned 2 episodes ago that I don't think they would ever do an episode like Marooned again. Well, this kind of feels like Marooned a little bit.
Yeah, except, so the parlance for this kind of a show is called a bottle episode. And like, it would happen, I think Star Trek, I could be wrong, but you notice them in Star Trek, particularly the Next Generation, because they were going to adventures, right? To different planets and things were happening. But every now and then they'd be like, whoo, because they 23 episodes a season or whatever. We need to save a little money.
Yeah.
And it would happen in sitcoms and stuff too. Where it's like one set. It would be like I don't know if this was a Seinfeld episode, but whatever sitcom. And this episode's about the gang gets caught in an elevator, and like 90% of the episode takes place in an elevator, and they save all this money on crew building sets and all this kind of thing. So Maroon fits the criteria of a bottle episode.
Yes.
In that it's just one location.
Yes.
However, it is a newly redone Starbug because Starbug made changes, or they didn't really use Starbug. They still use Blue Midget, right? In series 1 and 2.
Yes.
So series 3 Maroon was showing us Starbug. So it did feel different because we got this interior of Starbug that would stick around for most of it until this new series, or series 7, I should say. The thing that makes it different, though, is you feel like they could have come up with that story and script and then said, hey, you know what? This will actually save us money, as opposed to we need to save money, do a script where we don't change scenes. And the reason I say that is Marooned is so good for moving the story of Rimmer and Lister forward and all the character development that happens in it.
Yes.
So, yes, I agree. This is by definition a bottle episode where the ducks are, you have the Lister's room, the little galley they eat at, Kochanski's little bunk, and then the ducks. Way cheaper than, like, it wasn't called Rimmer World. What was the one where the creature was coming from Rimmer's mind and they were down on the planet? Terraform.
Oh, yeah.
Right? It's not like going and doing these big location shots, or even for the second episode of this, the whole Camelot video game thing, you know? So this is a really cheap episode. And it's funny because there is a line later where Crichton even alludes to, you liked this, Ms. Kochanski, because it gave you a chance to get to know a crew better together. Yes. But I'm like, but don't do that, because now you make me think of Marooned, and I don't think this episode did that as good as Marooned did.
But it is. It's Series 7 Marooned, because you kind of get to see a little bit of each of the characters. It's kind of establishing Kochanski as part of the crew, I think.
Yeah, and instead of doing like an adventure, it's more of like a day in the life.
Yeah. We're going to get stuck together. We're going to learn things about each other together and separately. And it's kind of that thing. Again, really feels like an early Red Dwarf episode. A lot of throwbacks. Really like this episode. Not as much as the last one, but I definitely liked it. But we're not going to get there yet because it's a little bit further down the line. But there's a certain conversation in the middle of this episode that I don't think happens in 2025. But we'll get there.
Oh, yeah. It almost does. It almost could. Yes.
So we're talking about, I alluded to this on the last episode, we're talking about how cheap this episode is. So we open up on Lister in bed, and it's red hot because the heating ducts aren't working properly. And he says, 92 degrees. That thermostat on the wall is quite obviously just a green circuit board with a sticker on it that says 92 degrees.
But hold the phone. Why does it say I wrote this down. Why does it say 92 degrees? Why isn't it in Celsius? Why is it in Fahrenheit?
It doesn't actually say Fahrenheit or Celsius, but I never considered that. But surely 92 degrees and Celsius would be, he would be melting, like literally like ooze over his bed. You're right. I never considered that. That's interesting.
It's kind of like in series 1, it was like a 0G football. You look at the pictures, you're like, that's American football.
Yeah,
gear.
Strange. So you could argue that, again, that we talked about after doing the US pilot, did we see an influence, a US influence on Red Dwarf? You could argue yes, but then as you've just said there, maybe we're like, so if you go back to the last episode, when you see Lister get put under the pool table, it's like 2035 or something. So you could argue at that point that the planet just decided that Fahrenheit was the standard temperature for the entire planet. Instead of having some countries that use Celsius and some that use Fahrenheit, it's just like, that's what we use now.
You know what it makes me think of? Firefly. How Firefly has random
I never watched
Chinese...
Sorry.
Never. So it's obviously set in the future, but it's got random, like, I think they're Mandarin phrases and stuff that are said as if to imply, China really became like a marker for things that would move forward in the world based off, that was their supposition to the future, right? Kind of similar how in the States, I mean, we have a ton of phrases that we borrow from Spain or Spanish, more from the Mexican influence in Spain.
Obviously, because you have a huge Hispanic culture.
Right. So, and it kind of, instead of doing, hasta la vista, baby, it would be like this, Chinese phrase or whatever. And that became more. And so I'm like, well, is it just sort of like the 0G football being an American gear and the Fahrenheit? Is that sort of Doug Naylor and at the time Rob Grant's like, America's just going to take over everything? I don't know. Like,
maybe.
Was that thought? But it threw me off. I was like, 92 degrees. We've already done the American pilot and it didn't work. Why does that say 92 degrees?
I never considered that until like, I obviously paid attention to it, but never considered that, 92 Fahrenheit. I love the joke in this, by the way. I'll get to a bit I like before we get to the bit that I hate with a passion about this episode. And it happens a number of times. But anyway, Lister's in bed and he's like, I'm really thirsty and I need to pee. So it's that age-old thing, to pee or not to pee. And then he gets up and he goes in the shower and he comes out. And we've talked about, in the earlier series of Red Dwarf, jokes were told and then explained. So the dog food one. Now I know why dogs lick the testicles. It's to get rid of the taste, right? You don't need that. But there's one in here where I think they've learned. Doug Naylor has obviously proved that he's learned, because he gets out of the shower and it's really subtle and he goes, there we go, 2 birds, 1 shower.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
That's how you do it. You just, boom, lay it
2
right
birds,
in.
1 shower.
Perfect. Well, because it's already doing a weird thing where, these two characters, bouncing between her and Kachansky, or him and Kachansky dealing with the
pipes.
The pipes.
I hate that bit, by the way. I hate that bit when she's laying in bed with the squiluncle and retut, and it goes on too long for a start, and it's just incredibly annoying.
Okay, so let's get to that, because I'm with you. Like, so I get what he's going for, and they even used Robert Llewellyn's voice to make the sounds of the pipe.
Oh, is that? Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yes, and then because someone has inferred, like, so we to believe that she figured out, he was doing it, like another thing, but they don't say that or explain it. And so I don't know if it just was, hey, you make a funny noise, we'll let you do it. But the problem is I have with that joke is her screwluckle and they don't sound enough like the actual noise.
No, I agree with that as well. Yes, I agree.
Like if it went and you go, no, there's a rat-tat-tat-tat.
Yes.
Then it's like, I'm not saying it would be great, but it would land a bit better.
Yes.
But this is it's so particular, screlucal. Like, that's not the noise it's making.
It's too, it goes on too long. But that's interesting that you say, I never put that together, because this whole episode is Crichton trying to piss Kochanski off.
Yeah. And maybe that was one thing too many and they had to trim it out, But then it's not expressly, like, it could be him, because she gets him to do it at the end. The final section is him going, Crichton, say retut. And he goes, retut. So maybe she figured out it was him. Is if he, instead of repeating her, did the noise.
Yes.
That might have worked a bit better. If she went, say screlucal, and he went, made the noise the pipes made.
Put two and two together, though, that's why she asks him to do it at the end, because she figured out it was him doing it in the first place. But then
I don't think you would know, though. Without reading some of the behind the scenes on it.
But then Lister doesn't, because he says, there was some reference to Lister staying in there, and he never says anything. Her,
he tells her, we'll fix it. And then Crichton says that place drove Mr. Lister nuts. He wanted to smother himself with an onion sandwich, which is a very Series 3 Crichton line, I feel like. Yeah.
Strange. Yeah, I don't know whether that's what it's meant to be, but you could... Taking a step back and looking at the episode as a whole, it kind of makes sense that it was Crichton doing it, but it's never... There's nothing even remotely solid to go, oh yeah, that's what it was. But why else would she get him to repeat it at the end of the episode?
And also, so where are we at here? So we said, how long has this been? Has she already given birth to Lister? Are we...
I was thinking... This shows how detached I am with what's going on right now. I was like, she gave birth to Lister. Oh yeah, she did, didn't she?
Right. I know, right. So she's given birth. So in some ways, I imagine it feels like as if this is the second, a week or two after the previous episode. And maybe it is. And maybe all these episodes take place one week after another. You never see her showing and it happened off screen. Yeah. But it certainly doesn't appear that it's that way. But so she's been on the ship for a little bit. It's not implied that whatever's wrong with the thermostat is also causing the problem
with the pipes.
Which if it were together, do we even say what's wrong with the thermostat? I don't think we do. Because Crichton just goes to adjust.
It just got stuck, doesn't it?
Yeah. So I'm just not sure it's there. And that joke just doesn't... I get we're trying to, okay, we've lost Rimmer. See, this is where I think you screw up. They were trying to give a bit of Rimmer to her.
Yes.
Right? But yes, now I like her conversation later where she's like, look, I get it. I know I was spoiled. I know I grew up posh. I did. And she sort of explains, but then I'll put a pin in that before I get to that. So I like that, but this sort of anal retentive, I took notes saying what each pipe sounded like, feels a little rimmery to me.
It does, you're right. I'd never considered that, but yes, it does. But then I suppose it's to show how much it's driving her up the wall, that it's driven her to do that. But
I think what would have done a better job is it's too damn hot and she goes downstairs and discovers, this is a boy's fridge with trainers and beer in it. To me, that's stronger than the pipe.
Yeah.
Right? If you could have just said, I'm tired because I'm hot and I can't sleep, and then you go down to, you
don't necessarily need that because the reason's already there. That's why Lister can't sleep. It's why he goes in the shower and why he ends up going down and watching her knickers in the spin cycle.
Yeah.
And for the same reason that her, I do like when Crichton says, and here's another one, I'm not sure whether you'll know what it is. So I have written it down. Crichton says to her, Mom, what would you say to a drinking chocolate? And she says, I would say, drinking chocolate? Get me out of this place. I love that.
I'm guessing that's a super Doug Naylor kind of joke. Because that feels like...
Yeah. Do you know what drinking chocolate is? I don't know. It's not called that in America, so...
Is it as for the hot chocolate or is it cold?
Yeah, no, it's hot chocolate. Hot chocolate. Yeah, hot chocolate. It's very old. You don't hear people refer to it as drinking chocolate anymore. But yeah, that's generally what you would call hot chocolate. Cocoa.
I can't remember if I've mentioned it on this pod or not, but near where I used to live in Central Florida, and there's a place called the Proper Pie Company, and they made delicious savory pies. The owners were big Tottenham fans, so I would always wear my Arsenal kits in, and I would do it intentionally, and we would talk crap to each other. One time they actually One time they had actually traveled out of town to go see the Arsenal and Tottenham match, and Arsenal won. And I came in the following week when I knew they'd be back. That family was awesome.
Brilliant.
But I always would buy my Cadbury drinking chocolate from there.
Yeah,
so that's
there you
how
go.
I did know what that was.
We are going to go to, again, Doug Naylor writing. She's like, I've tried to fit in. I've even tried to learn what offside was. Another football reference.
Yep. I definitely wrote that down.
Yeah. It's funny. Like, there's so many, like I say, because I feel like we've been harping on about this a lot for the last 3 episodes, but it just shows you how much of Doug Naylor's writing, of how much of Red Dwarf is Doug Naylor.
Well, I see, but I would have an argument there. And we've talked about the novels. You know, they split and they did 2 different novels. Rob Grant wrote one on his own afterwards, and Doug Naylor wrote one on his own. And I have in my memory, I liked one more than the other. And I think it might have been, now granted, I could be totally wrong, and we are intentionally not touching these novels to have done with our rewatch. But I think I might have liked the Rob Grant one better in novel. No, in novel.
Yeah, it could be, yeah.
Because I think when I read the Doug Naylor stuff, it was like jokes, saying of just throw in the spaghetti at the wall, see what sticks.
Okay.
There were so many jokes in the Doug Naylor one that it didn't push the story forward as much. And Rob Grant, while reading a novel, I thought did a better job pushing the story. So I do think there is something missed in the secret sauce of Rob Grant not being here. So you do see like the scene we don't like, the screwuncle with the pipes. Literally, not only do we not like it, it's the closing button of the show.
It really is, yeah. And that goes on really long as well.
Yeah, as if it was supposed to be a punchline. And it doesn't work, and it never worked. And so Doug Naylor to me has a bit more of a feeling like just throwing jokes at the wall, see what sticks. If you just keep them coming, which is interesting because if you watch the documentary on the Red Dwarf US thing, it's talking
I love how you call it the US Red Dwarf thing. That's about the best way to describe it, the thing.
But I watched a bit of one of the documentaries on it, and they talk about like the bringing in the guys from BBC because it wasn't working.
Yeah.
So they came in really fast, and they're like, no, do it like here's all the changes, make all these changes. We actually thought we made a better script. We made the Americans mad because we leaked the script. Basically, we put under the doorway to the actors. They were like, this is better. This is really funny. And then we were like, it made the producers mad, but they said, we'll do it. And then we came in to film whatever in the next day or 2, and they were like, it's all changed again. And he said they kept wanting jokes and jokes and jokes and jokes and jokes and jokes. And so I find it interesting to now switch to this because I feel that way with this. Like, we got to get a joke, got to get a joke, got to get a joke. Like Lister's slow cold of to pee or not to pee. Yeah, like that's a stretch to like really get there in a realistic way, but pretty funny. You can imagine someone delirious and just sitting there at night. And
yeah. No, I'm going to lay you really thirsty and needing with a full bladder and really thirsty, which we've all done it.
Yeah. Oh man, for sure. And then hers is just so, it's going to sound so silly in a show with a cat evolved 3 million years to a human. Hers seems so unbelievable.
Yeah.
There's a suspension of disbelief we have with these shows and stuff, but there's something about that gag that just feels like, and then when you get to the end of the episode, you're like, oh, well, I guess you kept it in because it was your punchline, but man,
it's just.
But again, that punchline would work better if you knew Crichton was making those noises.
And it's never like as soon as you mention that, you go, oh yeah, that makes sense. But you do not get that from watching the episode.
Could you imagine thinking that's gone on way too long? And then right at the end of it, when you're like, I hate this, it cuts to like a pipe with a little thing in it and Crichton going,
yeah, that would be awesome.
Would have,
yeah,
and
that would have been brilliant.
And then, and then my brain already goes to, she leaves the room and he comes running in and she's like, where were you? Nowhere, Mom. Just checking the sensors, blah, blah, blah. And you still could have gone on with the same scene. I think that would have, I think that probably would have fixed it. I think if you did know it was him. I'm not saying it makes it a brilliant joke.
No, but at least it pays off better. It's funny how we've just said that, like I've literally just talked about a joke where in an earlier series it might have been over-explained and now we've learned that we don't need to anymore. And then talk about another joke that is kind
just
of
needed
the
this
beginning
much
and
of
the
an
end,
explanation.
and could have done with that explanation, but doesn't get it, but completely falls flat because of it.
It just needed that little bit of info for us.
Yeah, that would have worked really well. Yeah, I agree with you. Because it pissed me off to no end, because it goes on for so long.
So if you give Crichton doing that, him being a bit of a jerk to her when she's, gone to go get her, well, I forget why she goes there, to the fridge or whatever. But
she wants cottage cheese with pineapple chunks.
Oh, right. Can't have it.
Oh, yogurt. Fat-free, some yogurt she mentions as well.
So, I know it's 1997, and sometimes we forget how sexist things are written until you go back and watch an old episode of Friends. You're like, oh. But the cottage cheese, and of course, this is two white dudes talking on the side. I wish I had a lady on the pod for a second. But I feel like the stereotypical cottage cheese and pineapples and hers being upset there's no low-fat yogurt. I'm like, those were very foods. I remember the commercials as a kid, all aimed at women.
Yep.
It's a very, I'm just like, I think we don't write that this way. I think there's a way to tell the same thing, but it just felt stereotypical. It felt like one of those things where you would hear an actress go, I can tell a guy wrote this for a woman to be funny, but they're missing the funnier thing, which would be like the real thing to have in there.
Yep. There's a bit later on where we'll talk about stereotypes, but we'll get there. I do love Kat and Lister watching her knickers go around. He's like, look, I'm just categorically stating now, I am only here because I can't sleep. It's not because I want to watch Kachansky's knickers. He goes, look, a G-string. Where? There's a little black one. You missed it. It was tiny. And then the fact that Crichton comes down and pulls her red PVC outfit out and it shrunk, and apparently that was the only reason they did that was because they needed rid of that suit because the cast just found it too distracting, so they made Crichton shrink it so they could get rid of it. I was quite disappointed, I'll be honest, when they got rid of that outfit. I'll be honest,
but I find that trivia because IMDb takes all the trivia with a grain of salt when you come across it. I question how real that one is.
Really?
You know what I mean?
I don't.
Exactly.
When you already look at the trivia in the last episode that Robert Llewellyn couldn't focus because he kept staring at her ass, I could understand why they would want to get rid of that outfit.
Well, and it does. It does kind of play into the stereotypes too. We're going to add a girl, so we're going to, And I saw that there's some rumors of a movie at the time, so getting an attractive woman into it was like something that they knew that they were. That the producers would want or whatever. And man, now that I say that out loud, gosh, man, how bad can money and the idea of growing the brand, to use today's parlance, really screw up creative and stuff? Because we reference Star Wars a bunch, but it's because you have a singular creator, right? And then people have problems with the Disney versions. I like some of it. I don't like some of it. But the main thing is it's kind of created to make money, as opposed to, when Lucas made the first one, he had no idea it would make that much money, and then and even when he makes episode 1, 2, and 3, he's like, well, I own it. I'll get someone else to pay for it, but no one will, he can do whatever he wants. And there is something about knowing that they were worried about the movie coming and things like that. So there's choices, or that they were trying to get a movie, or that they were trying to get the US pilot to still work, or you can feel like where these odd little choices get made that don't have anything to do about actually serving the thing in front of you. Again, not to say don't bring in Kachansky. That's not what I'm implying by any stretch of the means. I just mean once that stuff starts showing up, it starts feeling less like an 80s sitcom we loved and more like, oh God, we're getting dangerously close to the 2000s where, it's like, make a franchise.
I love her. I love her as Kachansky. I think she's great. I think she plays really well in the cast. Does it hurt that she's easy on the eye? Absolutely not, because she is.
No, got a very Aaron Gray. Is Aaron Gray, is that her name, from Buck Rogers?
She's very attractive.
I do like her a lot. A throwback.
Although there is a bit that annoys me, and I understand why they had to put it in there, but it annoys me because it doesn't make sense now. And she references, I grew up in, was it a posh area of Glasgow?
Oh,
the Goebbels. And I'm like, yeah, but you're not Scottish. Because Claire Grogan was, but you're not. You have a very plummy English accent who have quite obviously grown up in or around the London area. You have not got a Scottish accent. There's no way you grew up in Glasgow.
But, okay, so one, I think the Glasgow is a way to do a nod
back
to Claire Grogan.
But it's annoying.
It is funny because in the previous episode where you have the flashback with Lister or Rimmer saying you don't like people named Kachan or Christine, you want Tiffany.
Tiffany, yes,
implying like a lower class like. And I will say that the old Kachansky actually fits that vibe.
Yes,
a bit more. Yes,
more than she did. Yeah, because she's kind of prim and proper and grew up like, with a bit of airs and graces, whereas Claire Grogan, you could kind of no offense, but she's the kind of person you would expect that would have grown up in Glasgow.
Well, and it's so with Chloe and Annette, I feel like I'll push back a little bit on that because one, I think it's a nod to Claire Grogan.
It is. Yeah.
If you hear her story, this is our first nod to when we first started hearing Rimmer's story, and you're like, oh, he's a really sad story.
Yeah.
And Kachansky's is sad. She's like, I know I'm posh, and then I had all the advantages, and I grew up wealthy, and I had this. But then one of the things she explains is, I went to the perfect CG school with the perfect CG friends and the CG computer generated teachers. So actually, I'm like, oh God, she grew up in I know the gag being the Goebbels area was not great at the time. But so now the idea in the future that it was a nicer place, but that she has that accent because that's what she did as a kid.
Oh, yes. Okay. That makes sense.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like she didn't grow up with the locals.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. That's fair. Yeah, that was a good way.
Because when she says that, I'm like, I remember, I caught it on the second viewing, thinking of it that way, going, oh, she's got a bit of a depressed story like Rimmer does in a way.
Yeah, that makes sense. Actually, I never considered it that way. Thank you, Blake. You're always the voice of reason.
Well, it's one of those, and they've done this a few times with things where you're like, actually, I think the take on that is very important to understand, but they kind of blow through it.
Yes.
And don't really let you linger in it. I mean, that's why I never as a kid thought about the Rimmer story being that sad. It was as an adult going, man, they really made sure Lister and him are both so effed up.
Yeah.
And even Holly, because they just a brilliant mind on his own. You know what I mean? Like for millions of years, everybody's little stories are so screwed up, which makes them interesting. And so I think it's smart. And I don't know if this goes anywhere, if they ever reference it again. But I was like, that's smart to give her, who looks very successful and has everything, but still have the same, not the same, but also have like problems.
I love her mannerisms because she's like, oh, you went to the perfect CG school with the perfect CG teachers and the perfect CG friends and ended up here. I love her facial expressions are brilliant. Right, I've got one for you, Blake. Did you catch the really random reference to something we have only ever seen once in Red Dwarf prior to this, and it was way back in Series 3?
So the Nova 5 got mentioned, but that was the previous episode, I believe, not this episode.
Really random. The most random reference ever. And I was like, I love that little reference.
Wait, so a reference that was also referenced in Series 3, not a reference back to Series 3.
To a thing that we've only ever seen once in an episode. I'll even give you the episode it was in. It was Time Slides.
Would it be the photograph? No.
Nope. Oh, it's way more random than that.
Oh my God,
I will put you out of your misery. Nuts. Crichton says, we should gather up some supplies, a little food, as much water as we can carry, and maybe even that magnetic fishing game.
Oh my God.
Junior Angler. I was like, oh my God, that is the best random reference to something from way, way, way ago. When
I forgot about that.
When Kat's trying to cheer up Lister and he's like, maybe we can play Junior Angler. All the thrills and whatever it is of fishing, but in a box. I was like, that is brilliant.
Gotta get you little fishy.
Yep. Brilliant. I've said so many times that I'm a big continuity guy when it comes to TV series. And I know that's probably why I have as many issues with these, especially the last episode, especially after you brought a lot of them up that I hadn't even seen. But I like things to make sense in its entirety. And when you're writing series 6 episodes at a time with like 6 months or a year or 2 or 3 years in between, you're not going to get that but I love like little mentions, little nods back to stupid little things like this that just make me go, that's cool.
I think you're gonna have to let that go as we move forward with some of these series. Like, if my memory serves correctly, you remind me of. I started a rewatch of Stranger Things before this new season comes out.
I did that about 6 months ago.
Yeah, my daughter has never seen them, so we're watching it with her.
I think she's at the perfect age to start watching those. Yeah,
she is loving it, and we're on series 2. And to kind of like tie into what you just said, what I've been impressed with is going, oh man. There's stuff. We're about halfway through series 2 now. I remember seeing series 4 and not liking it very much because I thought it just was creating too many things.
Oh.
But actually, I'm watching going, hell, you know what? I'm not saying they knew exactly what they were going to do, but there are definitely things being dropped in this that lead to that. I think it was much like Red Dwarf. They had such a long break from 3 to 4 that I felt that way. Now, the reason I brought up Red Dwarf or Stranger Things, when we think about it. So Millie Bobby Brown's, and I know in the show she's got an American accent, but both her look, and if you listen to her British accent interviews.
Can I just stop you? If you're going to say what I think you're going to say, I was watching this episode tonight going, do you know what? Go on.
I was like, is Chloe Annette like her aunt?
She, do you know, yes. And I didn't want to say it because I'm not, I find Millie Bobby Brown kind of annoying right now. She just seems to be everywhere and I'm just fed up of her a little bit. But yes, I completely get what you're saying.
And this on the second watch, I said to him, I was like, look, doesn't she look like?
She does.
And even
it's her mouth. The way she speaks is very much like Millie Bobby Brown, or vice versa.
Yes.
I guess.
Yeah, get them in a movie where I don't know how the age gap works now. Mom or grandma, are we at now? Yeah. I'm not sure, but like they could absolutely play relatives.
Yeah, completely. I saw it for the first time tonight. It's funny you mentioned that Stranger Things. Well, let's go off topic a little bit. I saw a TikTok the other day about series 1 of Stranger Things, and that it was Vecna that kidnapped Will Byers at the beginning, and it's like, how do we know this? Because stupid little things like the Demogorgons don't actually hunt specifically, and that thing chased him down. Apparently, when I need to go and watch it again, just these guys talk about it. So when he gets kidnapped, you can hear the clock in the background, which is Vecna's thing. And also,
oh man, I wish I had known that part because I didn't. And then, oh man, I'm gonna have to go back.
And then also, how does Will survive in the Upside Down, that first series? He's singing, "Should I stay or should I go?" constantly.
Yeah.
So how do they stave Vecna off in series 4? Is by having her constantly listening to Running Up That Hill. So it's a music thing. And you're like, I don't know whether that was on purpose or not, but that is super cool.
And that's what I mean. So far in the rewatch, I'm going, oh, you know what? This is more together than I gave it credit for. Like, for following series. Although I'll end our section of the Stranger Things podcast that interrupts the podcast, our mini podcast that interrupts the main podcast of Red Dwarf, and say, I am not looking forward to the fact that each episode is an hour and a half long because series 4, those episodes were way
apparently there's at least 2 episodes that are over 2 hours.
Yeah. Come on, man. They just separate it and make it a 13 episode season or something. I don't know. It's weird.
Anyway, let's get back on to. So I'm gonna give you another reference, another Doug Naylor harkening back to someone we haven't referenced in a long time. We get a Todd Hunter reference.
Oh, we do get a Todd Hunter and you know what? Now that we looked up in our previous episode that the VHS has started coming out in 93, this makes so much more sense to start dropping these references in because Todd Hunter. Is he ever mentioned after series 1 at all?
Maybe once.
Yeah,
maybe once. But she's trying to converse. So this is the whole scene that I don't think happens if this is written now. The whole gay, because she's like, oh, you and my Dave are different. And it's like, oh, I thought you were guys were the thing. She's like, no, he's not my type. So you're dead picky, you. No, he's not my type. Why? Because he's gay. And he's like, that's all right. I've got loads of gay friends. I've had loads of gay friends. She's like, name one. Bent Bob. Bent Bob? Is that what you call it? And it's funny, like, but it shouldn't be, you know what I mean?
It's funny because like it is the sort of play. Well, I'm torn on because on one hand, it's not like Lister's going, gay, gross, I'm not gay.
No, he's not being disparaging about it at all. No.
He's more like, you don't think I'm like, and then of course, I think when you find out, when he's like, wait, none of this is true.
Yeah.
You were trying to get my mind off being claustrophobic. In the context, I think it works. He doesn't get disparaging.
Apart from, it's like, I can't even grow, look, I can't be gay. I can't grow a big mustache. It only grows in little patchy bits. So the stereotype of all gay men have big, massive mustaches.
Yes. Like, it's funny. If you pull that one out, somehow maybe it works. But it's not that, yeah. It's like right on the line where it's like, a couple of changes and you might still be able to do this. And it's more of a, you don't think I am, which is kind of how he does act.
It is, but he's not talking about that he's afraid to be gay. He doesn't want her to think he's gay because he wants a chance with her.
Right. Yeah, it's odd. It's also funny because, or not funny, but just like, we haven't really had, I could be wrong about this, mentions of gay until this one. And then there was a reference of you like a reject from a gay disco. Rimmer says that to Ace in the Stoke Me a Clipper episode.
I don't remember that specifically, but maybe.
He's something the way you dress like a reject from a gay disco. He says something like that. And I can't remember if there's any other, I don't remember any references or quote unquote jokes that way. I had to look it up. Seinfeld, of course, was seminal for sitcoms. It changed a lot of things. Are you familiar with Seinfeld?
No, I've never watched it.
So they had not that there's anything wrong with that episode. It was in 1993, and it's where him and George Costanza, the character, Jason Alexander's character, get a reporter hears them talking and thinks, oh, they're gay. And of course, this is 1993, and so they would keep saying, I'm not gay. Not that there's anything wrong with that. Like, and that was kind of the joke, is they kept like trying to qualify it of like, no, listen to me. I am not. Not that I'm saying that there would be anything wrong if I was. Like, and them trying to like ride the line is where the humor, came in. Again, I have not watched that in a long time. I have no idea how that has aged.
Yeah.
So it's interesting because it's 97. So it's 4 years after that. I don't, and of course, the way it is treated so normal, I have a feeling that in 97, that doesn't happen a lot in TV shows. But it is weird because it does almost ride a line where it's fine, but it clips over just a little bit.
Yeah, it's the fact that he's referring him to as Bent Bob. It's like, that wasn't his real name. That's just his nickname. And I don't know whether you'd get away with referring to someone as Bent Bob nowadays.
Yeah. I don't think that would work. I mean, are you trying to find a way to make Lister still like a slob? But it's, I don't know. It's weird.
It's a strange one.
Both times watching through, I was like, this is so close to being almost bad. Like I hate to use the word problematic, but whatever. Like, but and kind of crosses over. It doesn't leap into it.
No.
Yeah. It's just weird. It's like, this is going to sound weird. It's like, oh, we can do those kind of jokes now, but be respectful. So let's try one. And it's like baby's first step at doing that.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't quite work. It doesn't feel mean-hearted.
No.
But it doesn't quite feel appropriate or work either. And I don't know. It hits weird.
Yeah, if you look at it from a wider lens, the whole point of the conversation is to take Lister's mind off being in a tight space.
Right.
So by bringing that up, she feels she's playing into his insecurity about being gay.
Right.
Which he knows that he would bite because he's not. And potentially against it, I guess, maybe.
Well, or I would have thought just against her thinking he is.
Okay.
Because he, that was my takeaway. I mean, kind of what you said is he's more like, whoa, I don't want you to think that. It seems to be.
Yes.
The way he's going for it.
Okay.
Now, I just will say nothing else because you don't know all the episodes that are coming.
Okay.
So sometimes you don't get a chance for a follow-up, but I think there's kind of sort of a follow-up. But yeah, I'm with you. It's kind of like the whole losing virginity story that I remembered being so funny, and then Lister loses it at 12.
12 years old, yeah.
Oh, that episode, was that a season 2, I think, with Rimmer or something? But
wasn't it Marooned?
Was it Marooned? And my your skateboard. Maybe it was. They've made so many gags on when Rimmer lost his virginity. But I remember going,
Lister.
oh, that's not funny anymore. That was funny when I was 13 and saw it. Whatever. It's not as or younger than that, really, I guess. I don't know what that was. But it just did not age well, as they say.
It was, yeah. Michelle Fletcher was the girl to whom Lister, aged 12, lost his virginity at the Bootle Municipal Golf Course, specifically at the 9th hole, par 4, dogleg to the right in the bunker behind the green. That was marooned.
The rest of the specifics of that story make it funny, but that bit was always like, oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's weird.
Right, I've got the perfect segue now then. I'm glad you brought up that story. Because I feel those stories are very much a Doug Naylor thing. And we get a Lister story in this about how he became claustrophobic. And it's very much feels along the lines of him losing his virginity, this long story for the punchline of, I can't even remember what the punchline is at this point.
It's so a meandering story, I feel like, that doesn't quite work. Because it feels like the whole, we were making out on the bananas, asparagus, whatever it was.
Yeah, it wasn't asparagus, something like that.
But I will say the punchline of, and there I stood bollock naked right in the middle of the production of the play of the importance of being earnest.
Yes.
That is funny. But I've got to say, wouldn't that sound funnier if it was coming from Rimmer?
Probably.
Because the Lister that you imagine almost wouldn't care being naked in front of all those people at a
probably
highfalutin
not.
play.
Yeah,
now the whole being drug out like he was gonna get killed is funny, or not funny, but like sets up the idea of the claustrophobia. You ever heard the expression "that's a long walk down a short pier"?
Yes,
that's what it felt like to me. Whereas the maroon story. Because, okay, here's the difference if I put writer cap on. How did you lose your virginity? Is the story in itself funny? A little, but really, it's Rimmer's reaction to the entire story.
Yes.
And knowing that Rimmer's is like...
Yeah, that's the punchline, isn't it? You couldn't have been a full member.
You're right. And whereas this one, he's telling it to Kat, and this is where I said it screws up. Right now, the Kat and Lister relationship is a little off because he's telling Kat to this.
Oh, there's a bit in here I think is absolutely brilliant, though. But go on.
But do you know what I mean? But and so that's kind of where it is like Maroon, but it isn't, because the story that Lister told Maroon actually moved both people forward.
Yes,
and this one is really just his story.
Yeah, but it does feel like that's where we're trying to go back, is to do a kind of Marooned episode for definite. But two hilarious jokes in this, two I absolutely adore. So the bit when Crichton's talking to Kachansky and he's like, he's told me everything about his life. And Kachansky goes, not everything, Crichton. Absolutely, Mom. Everything? Before you arrived, nights were long and dull. Cheese slice Snap could only entertain for so long. I love the thought of playing Snap with cheese slices. Hilarious. It's just so ridiculous, but hilarious. Right, then... when Kat comes to take over looking after Lister in his claustrophobic thing, so he turns up and suddenly he's like, boy, is it cramped in here, woohoo. I suppose we weren't supposed to talk about that. He goes, well, I tell you, if I was dead, you most certainly could not swing me round in here. And it's the best reference to you couldn't swing a dead cat is absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, if you sung me, if I was dead somewhere, I think it goes over most people's heads.
I love it. I caught it on the first viewing, and it got funnier every time.
I love that delivery, but that is some great classic Cat though. All this, whoo, it's tight in here. That
he's going to do the exact opposite of what's expected of him.
And just sitting there drinking all the water, and do you hear that? A sound.
Yeah, like a whooshing, watery, whirly sound. He's like, I can't hear anything. Are you sure? Yeah, it's brilliant. This is where, like, I kind of enjoyed the episode up to this point, and I'll be honest, this is kind of where I fell asleep on my last viewing of it, but it kind of peters out at the end for me.
Yeah, it does. So, I mean...
It's like we've ran out of ideas. Like, how are we going to finish this episode? And it goes back to what we said about the whole pipe squiluncle retut thing. It's like...
Well, yeah, so there's clearly the big punchline. Once they escape, well, Crichton tells them that he's actually the one that did this, that he messed everything up because he didn't want her to have the bath, which I don't even know if he mentioned, but that Lister was going to give, had set up the bath so she could take a proper bath.
Yeah, because Crichton was obsessed that because of that, he was going to end, they were going to get together and he wouldn't need Crichton anymore and he was going to kick him out because they got him a key ring with the C on it for Crichton.
Yeah, his little flashback dream or whatever. And
it's funny.
He's wearing like a fluffy white shirt, Lister is. But so he admits to all of it, and then they get out and they enter back into Lister's room. So big punchline there, the whole adventure, and they're back where they started.
Yeah.
I'm a sucker for these kind of jokes. How are we back here? And Crichton looking at the map and going, turning it upside down.
Yeah, that's brilliant. I do like that because it's played so straight. He goes, and then turns it on. You're like, yeah, it is funny. It's all down to his delivery.
I love that kind of stuff so much, but it does feel like there's your punchline. You can go out the door. What, you put me through that hell or whatever. We could have left the whole time, and then you get the reveal of, Kochanski and Crichton be like, oh, I think you look at it differently, don't you? You actually valued tonight because you got to, the crew and yada yada and had a I don't know, the journey is greater than the destination.
Yes.
sort of a speech with her, but it's still kind of not a strong end.
Not at all.
And then we get the Skrulunkel bit,
which goes on for very long.
Yeah, and we've just had funnier moments of Crichton getting hit in the head than this, and it was,
it was like I don't know. And again, I think that kind of goes back to what you were saying. If you had Rob Grant on board, maybe he would have honed it a little bit more, especially considering that we've already established that this episode, like the previous one, ran long.
Yeah, it ran long. So like this ending, which feels very tacked on and for the whole adventure to have happened
for no purpose whatsoever, really. It just seems a bit of an afterthought.
And did we really learn anything? Because she spent some time with Dave, and then she spent some time with Crichton. She doesn't really get much time with Kat.
No.
They don't each get a moment to do something. Like, I don't know. I guess if I were doing this and that was the point to make Kochanski feel better,
you would show her relationship with each one in turn.
Yeah, you kind of would have seen like, how does this work? And to be honest, at this point, and I don't know if it happens or not, I kind of want to see her with Kat.
Yeah.
Mr. Horn Dog Cat. Like, what is he like with her? Why does he not like, forget you, Lister, I'm going to go for her? Like, why?
Which you think he would be, yeah. And he's not.
Yeah, why is he not that?
We've lost that Cat, though. Do you not think we talked about how the characters have changed a lot over the last few series, and we haven't seen that Cat for a long time, who's more about, oh, I'm so excited. Oh, 6 of my nipples are tingling. We haven't had that Cat for a while.
No, I think the last one I can remember is like Sirens with the please come to our planet of all women and populate us with your seed. He goes, well, I'm going. And then he comes back. You guys don't think that's the Sirens, do you? Like,
yeah, that's probably the last reference, actually.
It definitely felt like if you were going to do that, though, he should have had a moment with her, too.
Yes.
In this.
Because she hasn't really at all in either of these two episodes.
There is one off camera. He gives her his coat right before they get on the thing and get blasted by the water to slide out. She's wearing his coat, and I love it when he comes. That's actually my wife had noticed, like, how much weight does he lose every episode because he's wearing an under pleather or PVC looking outfit under his coat because he falls down in the closet and he's just got the black shirt and the black trousers on, and she's wearing his coat, which I'm like, that's interesting. Like, because you feel like, oh, now that I've said it out loud, I didn't think about it when I saw it. A scene where the cat took off a piece of his own clothing
and gave it to her wear. Yeah.
I also don't know why she's wearing it because it's hot, ostensibly, but it was probably cold water coming through that water.
But no, because so if we go by the premise that everything that's happening is actually happening, the reason that the power's out in the first place is because Crichton was adjusting the thermostat and it blew everything.
Right.
So the heating should be off at this point because...
But that Lister says, why is it getting hotter? Why are we getting hotter when it should be getting cooler?
Oh, you're right.
And Crichton's he admits to doing it and then says, that meteor shower, was anything else? She goes, yeah, there was a sun. I think we got knocked off course.
Yes, you're right. Yeah.
But she's wearing his coat?
Last 10 minutes. I don't know.
Well, that's when you fell asleep.
Probably, yeah. I'm really struggling with a rating for this right now because I kind of enjoyed it. It was all right. It wasn't as good as the previous one. I really liked the previous one. This one,
I think part of its problem too is it is comparable to Marooned.
Yes.
And that's not a good thing to be compared to because Marooned is so good. And Marooned eschews the whole cast and just says, screw it.
Yeah.
This is just about these two.
And maybe that's the problem. Maybe if you just had a Lister and Kochanski episode.
Or Crichton hates her.
Yeah,
it's Crichton
put them
and
two
Kochanski.
together. Yeah, that would work.
To like work thing. Actually, if you were like, we're going to do Marooned, but this time it's going to be Kochanski and Crichton, that's probably a better episode.
Yes, because you'd have a bit of conflict. Yeah.
And you could still do the same story differently in that, like, Lister screwed the thing up on purpose to try to get, he's tired of the two of them
bickering.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, okay, that would work. See, we're better at this than they are.
Yeah, well, it's always easy to play armchair quarterback afterwards. And, you know,
we're football fans, we know that.
Yeah. I gave this a 5 out of 10. I didn't hate it, and I didn't like a lot of it either. So I just was like, yeah, it's middle of the road. If it were on, I'd watch it because the boys from the Dwarf and Kochanski are on there. But it's not, if I got a choice, I don't imagine, like, I'll go back to the previous episode. I don't know that I would come back to watch this one.
No, I think I would probably agree with you. I wish I could go back to find out what I gave Body Swap, because I feel like that's the episode that we've crapped on the most at this point. So
Is that series 3?
3 or 4.
2.
No, it wasn't. It definitely wasn't 1 or 2. It was 3 or 4. It was terrible.
Because it was one I
episode.
barely remembered myself.
Because it's terrible. I'm gonna stick with a 5. There's a lot of stuff in it I like, but the things that I don't like really annoy me.
I can give you something kind of funny real quick. I just because I keep my notes in my note app for the show, so I just went back to series 3, episode 4. Marooned was the second episode of series 2. I think erroneously we may have called it the first.
Series 2 or series 3?
Series 3.
Yeah.
Marooned Backwards was the first episode of series 3.
Yes.
And then Marooned was number 2.
Yeah.
But
so
series 3,
really
episode
strong.
4, Body Swap. I wrote, this show episode is an 8 during the opening sequence with the destruction countdown.
Yeah.
Right, where it's going to self-destruct right up until the Rimmer Lister swap. Then it's a 6. Great concept.
A 6.
But, and in retrospect, I might push that down to a 5 and the one we just did to a 4.
I was going to say 6 seems like a very, considering how much we crapped all over that episode, 6 seems like a really high score for it.
So we like the opening so much. Do you not remember we came up with a better version of that episode?
Yeah, isn't that the one where Rimmer ends up like imitating all the crew? Is that one?
Well, no.
How do you do that whole? Isn't that one? Isn't that Body Swap?
No, that's not Body Swap. He doesn't imitate anybody in this one because they voiced.
I remember the actual
line.
Body Swap thing. I'm trying to remember the opening sequence. I can't remember. It was a while ago.
But no, the opening sequence is like it's all going to self-destruct. They don't touch anything.
Oh, the chicken soup machine.
And he goes to make, and then it says self-destruct 0,
yes.
3, 2, 1, 0, and it spits out like a candy bar. Or something.
Yes, I remember now.
So, and it was like, oh my God, that was so fun. You literally could have had a 25-minute episode of them trying to save their life. Like it could have just been this idea of Hull not working, the ship doing everything backwards.
And what they did was like a really horrible, badly dubbed. It was awful. It was not a good episode.
Great idea, didn't work. I think that's why I gave it a 6 instead of lower. This one is just we want to do Marooned, but
with a new cast, basically.
Quite. And I do think it would have been more interesting with Crichton and
I agree.
Kochanski.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Because right now, still to this point, they are the most interesting combo.
Absolutely. That's the reason that the first 2 seasons of Red Dwarf worked so well, because you had Rimmer and Lister who couldn't stand each other.
Right.
That's why it worked so well. So yeah, you're right. you would put the two together that have the most conflict, because that's what you want to see, and then have them work it out by the end. But I don't know. It wasn't a bad episode, like I said. There's quite a few things in it I liked, but overall, it didn't really work. So I'm going to give it a 5 as well. I feel quite sad after the high of the previous episode as well. Like I really did like the previous episode, and then to come into this one and just go, huh. I
remember bits and parts of all the subsequent episodes, but I do not remember them as a whole. So I look very forward to like moving forward in our journey of what's next.
I was excited, and now after this one, I'm kind of like, oh, I hope we go more Ouroboros than Duct Soup.
I feel like 8 or 9 is more of the sitcom. I can't. Again, it's been so long.
I thought there was which series is it you haven't seen, Blake?
I think once you get past 9, that one where they go.
So have you seen 9?
Yes, but not like much like you would say about 3, 4, or 4, 5, and 6. That you're like, I know them, but I don't. Yeah. I didn't watch them a bunch.
Like
right?
maybe
Same
once.
Thing. I saw them like once, so I don't really have a big memory of them at all.
So have you seen the Back to Earth ones?
I saw the first episode of Back to Earth because it was on Netflix streaming in 2007, 6 or whatever. But I never...
Because that's series 9.
Oh, that's 9.
Yes.
So maybe I'm thinking of series 8 is the one that is more sitcom-y.
So the first episode of series 9 is Back to Earth Part 1.
Okay, so I only saw the part 1 of that. I didn't see anything else.
That's good. I'm looking forward. Like I've only ever seen them twice, I think. I watched them when they first came on, and then I watched them again about 7 years ago when I did a full rewatch before the last series came out. So I've only seen those twice. So it'd be interesting for me to go back and watch them again, having only seen them twice, but then to watch it with you, having not seen them at all, should be fun.
Yeah. Well, even so far with Series 7, I don't know it that well.
No, me either.
So Ticket to Ride was the one I actually knew the most out of this one, and which was the first one of this series. So I do have a memory, though, of Duck Soup being difficult for me to get a hold of. When I finally saw it, I went, oh.
Yeah. Maybe shouldn't have tried so hard.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. From the high of the last episode to the low of this one. Disappointing, for sure. Maybe that means the next one will be a high episode again.
I have memories that it is definitely better than what I do. A little
good. I hope so. I don't think it'll be much. No, I don't want to rag on this too much. It wasn't terrible. It could have been better.
No, I think its worst thing is that it put itself in a position to be compared to Maroon.
Yeah, I agree.
And so when you do that, that's hard. I would have avoided that because that episode is one of the best ones, still in my top 5.
It's your number 1, I do believe.
I believe it's still sitting at number 1. Yeah. Is that it for us?
I think so.
All right. Well, that brings the end of the podcast. Be sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Dwarf Memory and Twitter at Dwarf_Memory for all show updates.
We'd really like you to subscribe and please leave us a rating on Apple Podcasts or Spotify because I think we've got 5 on Apple Podcasts. I think we'd like to get some more. And leave us a review there for sure, so let everyone else know that you enjoy what we do, even if you don't. And you can also email us your comments, because a lot of people have, and we love getting them in. Our email address is dwarfmemory@gmail.com.
The next episode we're discussing is the 5th episode of Series 7, which is Series 7, Episode 5, Blue. Make sure to watch before you join us for the next episode.
And I have no idea what that episode's about from that title.
I know a bit in it. I don't remember what it's about, the whole episode, but I do remember a bit that's in it.
Interesting.
Yes. So I look forward to talking through that one with you. And if I know you and I, after we record this podcast within the next day or so, we will have jumped on those next 2 episodes.
100%. I'll watch it while I have my lunch tomorrow.
Excellent. You're gonna text me, I have a feeling, that when it's over. So I'm going to make sure I watch it tonight. I think I understand. For you, the trip through the ducts was far from pointless. It was an emotional journey where you gleaned invaluable insights into your crewmates. This was your rites of passage. You feel enriched, wiser, and somehow bonded by this in a way that you never thought possible. Am I right?
C'est Nurik.
Nurik.
C'est Rutut.
Rutut.
C'est Hununga.
Hununga.
Squilukal.
Squilukal.
Rutut.
Rutut.
Hununga.